For decades, astrophysicists thought they understood how some of the most violent events in the universe unfold. Take a black hole and a neutron star. Put them in orbit around each other. According to everything we know about gravity, their paths should slowly smooth out into a perfect circle before they finally collide. Simple, predictable, case closed. Except scientists have just discovered a system that refused to cooperate. Right up until the moment of impact, this black hole and neutron star were still orbiting each other in an oval shape. And that one impossible detail may completely change how these cosmic collisions are born. Welcome to Exo Files. When giant objects crash together, they don't just create explosions. They send ripples through space and time itself. Those ripples, called gravitational waves, allow scientists to reconstruct events that happened hundreds of millions of light years away. Recently, hidden inside one of those signals, researchers found something they never expected. A black hole and a neutron star that behaved in a way physics said they shouldn't. Not because Einstein was wrong, but because the story of how these objects met may be far stranger than anyone imagined. To understand why this discovery is such a big deal, we first need to talk about orbits. Imagine two massive objects dancing around each other. Their gravitational pull constantly emits tiny amounts of energy. As they lose energy, the objects spiral inward. And according to theory, their orbit becomes more circular. Think of swinging a rock on a string. Any weird stretching or wobbling gradually disappears. By the time the objects are close enough to collide, astrophysicists expected their orbit to be almost perfectly round. Until one event known as GW200105. At first glance, it seemed ordinary. A black hole, a neutron star. But hidden in the data was a clue nobody anticipated. The orbit wasn't circular. It was still distinctly oval-shaped. Unlike telescopes, gravitational wave detectors don't see the universe. They listen to it. Facilities like LIGO and Virgo can detect incredibly tiny distortions in space-time itself. When massive objects spiral together, they produce a signal scientists describe as a chirp. The frequency rises. That final burst contains information about the masses of the objects and the shape of their orbit. Think of it like listening to a musical instrument. A trained ear can tell the difference between a piano and a violin. Researchers noticed hints that the system retained eccentricity. In other words, they were following an elongated oval path. That shouldn't have happened. Over millions of years, gravitational waves are supposed to erase that eccentricity. Yet somehow, these two bodies arrived at the finish line with their orbit still misshapen. Which means something unusual must have happened before the collision, something violent, something chaotic. The traditional explanation is peaceful. Two stars are born together. They orbit each other for millions of years. One explodes and becomes a neutron star. The other collapses into a black hole. But an eccentric orbit tells a different story. They may have met inside one of the most crowded environments in the universe. Imagine a cosmic city where stars constantly pass close to one another. Gravity becomes messy. Three-body encounters fling objects around like billiard balls. In that chaos, a black hole and neutron star could become trapped together relatively late in their lives. There wouldn't be enough time for gravitational waves to smooth their orbit into a circle. Essentially, this merger may have been an arranged marriage created by gravitational chaos. And that suggests there are multiple pathways to creating these collisions. At first, this might sound like a tiny detail. Who cares if the orbit was circular or oval? But in astronomy, tiny details often change entire theories. Scientists are trying to understand where these objects come from. An eccentric merger acts almost like a fingerprint. It preserves information about the environment. As observatories become more sensitive, researchers expect to detect thousands of mergers. Among them may be systems even stranger than this one. Collisions involving intermediate mass black holes. We're essentially hearing the universe with new ears. And every time we improve our hearing, the cosmos whispers another secret. What makes GW200105 so fascinating is that a single characteristic suggests the entire history may have been wrong. Physics predicted calm, reality revealed chaos. And that's often how science moves forward, leaving behind ripples in space-time. And a mystery that scientists are only beginning to unravel. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to Exo Files and turn on notifications. Because the deeper we look into the cosmos, the stranger it becomes. Until next time.